this is my man Joseph Edwards here. All right. So first, Joseph, I wanted to give you the observation notes that I did from your observation when I went in and kind of saw your lesson. So if you want to read through that. I did do a video and I showed Joseph the video that we did, but I just also wrote some notes for him so he can kind of see what I noticed in the lesson. So now if we want to run through the questions.
Sure.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the worst lesson you've taught, 10 being the best, like how would you rank the lesson?
About 6.
6, all right. What pleased you about the lesson?
Majority of students actively engaged.
Okay, good. What would you change to make it closer to a 10?
Probably group work.
Okay, group work. So when you say that, meaning like putting them more into like groups of like 3 or 4?
Yeah, probably with 3 or 4.
Okay. What would your students be doing differently if your class was a 10 for that lesson?
Group work, more technology, collaboration, yeah.
Okay. So what would that look like? Like if you're like in that particular lesson, like what would this collaboration look like for that particular assignment? Because I know you had them, they looked at notes and you kind of helped them out with that. I noticed in the lesson the students were working together. Some were all by themselves. Like what would that look like for everyone to be sort of collaborating together?
So they're working on certain sections, finding the information, collaborating, put it together, finding conclusions, drawing conclusions based off information they've had.
Okay. So how is there a way, or how could we measure that difference? Because obviously the idea would be if we're going to use that collaboration, it would be that everyone was more engaged, which obviously would help their grades and kind of participation. So how do you think we could measure that change?
I think with a writing piece, like a writing prompt, to show that they're actively receiving the information.
Okay, so in other words, like with them collaborating, they'll be able to kind of put more on paper of what they learn more of it.
Show mastery of the.
Because y'all were doing what was the lesson again as far as the
over religions of the Middle East and Northern Africa.
Okay, so that would then if they could write it, obviously analyze it, they would be able to.
If they could tell how it would impact the surrounding area and how people function with day-to-day life based on religions of the Middle East and Northern Africa, that would show mastery of the standard.
Which that goes more to when you say the impact more than being like, can we just like tell facts about it?
Right.
Like the impact is that mastering of being able to like understand sort of why they might have had certain things or whatever. So,
exactly.
Cool. So do you want what do you want your goal to actually be then? Like if we had a specific goal. Because like we talked about this idea of engagement, so like do you want what percentage necessarily would you want your kids to be engaged?
We would all like 100, but if you could get 80-85%, that would still still a win.
Yeah, because like I said, I think even noticing like a lot of your kids were engaged. There were a few that were different, but I think it really could spike it even higher. If they had, if they were in groups, because therefore you can't have, people wouldn't be able to kind of hang behind that way. So cool. All right, I like that. And if you could hit that goal, would it really matter to you? I'm assuming it would, obviously.
It would. It would show that kids are receiving information, of course, mastering standards. So that means we could continue to move forward.
Yeah, which is obviously the goal. We always want our kids to master the standard for sure.
Right.
All right. So now that we kind of have our goal, like, what do you think as far as like what strategy could we use to sort of get the kids to be able to, have 85% engagement? Like, what strategy could we use for that?
I think questioning and summarizing would hit it with no issues.
Okay. So when you say that, what do you mean?
Put them in groups, make them work in groups. I mean, peer review is everything, so if they can correct themselves, then that means they're understanding.
Okay, I like that. So like in other words, if they're having their questions they're working on and can be able to summarize what they're doing, like if they have that peer review piece, then they'll be able to sort of like check each other without you having to.
Right, if they're able to teach it to each other, then they're mastering the standard.
All right, I like that. All right, so sort of the last thing, sort of what are your next steps as far as like, ensuring that they kind of get this engagement and really try to learn what you want them to learn?
Realistically, it's supposed to be a writing summary of how they believe the information they got today impacts the area, the surrounding area, with Israel being just a more ethnic religion versus the rest of the region.
So I guess that's that writing piece sort
Right.
of thing as far as like, you know, what that looks like later on.
Mm,
Okay, cool. Well, anything else? Any other questions?
that'd be it.
I think it's great. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.